first step in knitting is to get stitches on your needle. You should have a circular needle, something like this, 2 needles connected with a flexible wire. And if you're using our yarn, you'll have this center pull ball. And what that means is you can remove the label and fish inside the ball of yarn for a tail. And I think I've got it right here. Oh, nope, that's the wrong end. That's the outside end. That's not what I want. So I'm going to fish around. Here it is. And I'm going to pull out several yards of yarn. And if I use the center pull, it's going to keep my ball from flopping around. So for the long tail cast on, we're going to need several yards of yarn. This is called a yarn barf. It's what happens often when you're starting and there's a little too much tension in the ball of yarn. So you can just kind of loosely pull the strands apart and it should just come right undone. You want several yards, so let me just show you what I have here. I've pulled out about 2 yards of yarn. For the long tail cast on, we want a long tail on one side and then the yarn ball. And in between those two, we're going to make a slip knot and put it on our needle. To make the slip knot, I'm going to pick up the yarn in between the yarn tail and my yarn ball. It's called a long tail cast on, and here's my long tail. I'm going to loop it around my fingers, and then I'm just going to turn it to cross the yarns over each other. And then I'm going to bend down and pick up my tail and pull it through. And just gently cinch it down. Now, let me do that again one more time so you can see it really clearly. I'll loop the yarn around my fingers and turn it to make an X. Then fold my fingers down and pick up that tail and draw it up and through, cinching it down gently. And here's my slip knot. Now I have this giant loop, and I'm just going to put it on my needle and then again gently cinch it down so that it's about the size of my needle, and it should be free to move. You don't want it too tight. And then I'm going to hold the slip knot in place with my index finger, and I'm ready to cast on. The slip knot counts as your first cast on stitch. Normally people won't tell you make a slip knot and cast on 89 more stitches. They'll just say cast on 90 stitches. So this is your first stitch. Now I'm going to insert my fingers in between the yarn ball and the yarn tail. I've got the yarn tail over my thumb and the yarn ball over my index finger. And I'm just going to grip those strands with my other 3 fingers. And I'm holding my slip knot in place. Here's what it looks like from below. Now, holding my slip knot with my index finger, I'm going to rotate my hand so my palm is facing up. I'm going to move my working needle underneath the loop on my thumb that is nearest me. So this lowest loop on my thumb, I'm going to insert my needle below it and bring it up in between those 2 strands. Then I'm going to move my needle over the yarn on my index finger and draw it back down through that loop. And then I'll just release the loop on my thumb. And then I'm going to use my thumb to just pull that strand tight. Now I don't want it too tight, just snug enough. And now my thumb's back in the right place. So again, I'm going to move my needle under the loop on my thumb, the lowest loop, and then over the strand on my index finger and draw it down through that loop. Release the loop from your thumb and just gently tighten. And now I'm ready to do it again. Needle comes up through the loop, wraps around the loop on my index finger, and then I draw it down and through. Release the loop from your thumb and cinch to tighten. Now I've cast on 4 stitches. I want them to be loose enough that they can move. The hardest part for new knitters is that they make these cast on stitches too tight, and it's going to make knitting them extra hard when you come back to them. So all throughout, you're just going to think loosey-goosey, keep everything nice and loose. Now again, if you take your fingers out from the yarn, you can put them back just by putting the yarn tail over your thumb and the yarn ball over your index finger, and you're ready to start again. Now that's 5 stitches, 6 stitches, we need 90. So we're just going to keep going until we get to 90 stitches. As you get more and more stitches on your needle, they're naturally going to just slide onto the wire. And that is absolutely fine. That's what it's there for, is to hold your stitches. Go ahead and let them slide onto that wire. Don't try to keep them all on the needle or your stitches will be too tight. Now you can see my needle is getting quite full, and these stitches are just going to start moving on to the other end of the circular, and that's fine. We just need to be sure they don't fall off that other end. Keep going until you get to 90 stitches.